Hello, my name is Jason Bjorklund of the Iowa Golf Association. Thank you once again for tuning in to a tutorial video. In this segment, I'm going to be talking about the GHP Handicap Program online version, specifically a couple of features that are on the management side, club settings and GHP settings. We're first going to talk about default tees. And to begin, I'm going to launch the GHP Handicap Program online version from my desktop. And we'll open up the main screen for the public that offers them to post scores and look up handicap indexes. Default tees come into play in a lot of different areas throughout the program. Each golfer within your club has a default tee set for them individually. What that means for the posting side of it is when a golfer goes to post a score, and they'll find themselves within the roster. Today's date for our example. When they click the home feature for where did they play, they're going to get a list of the tees that they can post to at their club, with the one being automatically selected as their default tee. In our case here, Ernie has a default tee of tan. Now it doesn't mean he can't click on the black tee if that's what he played for the day, or the yellow. It's going to just default automatically to the tee that's set for him. Another example of a default tee coming into play would be on a handicap label. Many clubs out there have a Dymo printer where the golfer themselves can print a label individually. Clubs that don't have that have the capability of printing a handicap label on an 8.5 by 11 sheet that's provided by the IGA, and you can generate a label that looks like this. The stickers have a background to them that show the name and all that as well. On the sticker, this part here has the letters HI above it, which indicates that the index for Larry here is 12.7 and the course handicap is 14. Now, his handicap index is obviously the number that travels from tee to tee and course to course. But the course handicap is specific to a set of tees. So that number there, the 14, is his course handicap for the default set of tees he has set for him within the program. So let's open up our reopen our online version of the handicap program and see how we get these default tees properly set. I'm going to go back to the main screen, and I want to get out of the public side and go to the management side, so I'm going to click on the GHP logo, log into GHP Online Clubs. After I put my password in that's associated with the GHP program, I can go to the online clubs, and I've opened up a screen now, my home page for management. Now, each golfer within their account, under roster, you can go into the Larry's for example here, is going to have a setting or a field that shows what their default tee is. It opens up with name, address, but as you see here, I've got other tabs and player settings. Click on that. We can see that Larry's default tee is the yellow tees out at Otter Creek Golf Course. Back to the roster, and choose another golfer. Choose Kevin this time. See what his default tees are. He doesn't have a specific set of tees set for him, so he's going to default back to the set of tees that are the default tees for the entire service. Okay? So now that we've seen two different individuals, one who has a default tee set, the other does not, let's see where we set the default tees for the entire service. We're going to do that under Club Settings and Service Maintenance. We have to choose what service we'd like to do work with. My drop-down shows that my test club has 3 services offered: a men's 18-hole handicap index, women's 18-hole handicap index, and then women's 9. Since we've looked at Larry and Kevin, who are both in my men's 18-hole service, I'm going to stay with that for this example. Scroll down just a bit, and I'm going to click on the Club Settings tab here at the top, second from the left. And down here we can see a men's tee, which is our default tee for this entire service. Right now it's set to the Otter Creek golf course tan tees. And I could change that by going over here to select tee, and I could change it to the yellow or the black, or I could leave it at the tan, which I'll do for this example here. So I'll just click cancel. So now when we think about this, automatically every golfer in my men's 18-hole handicap roster is going to have a default tee of tan, unless there is an override in the individual's account, like we have for Larry, where his default tee is set specifically for him. Individual settings are going to override the overall settings that we see for an entire service. I would recommend that a club set their default tees for each service to the set of tees that is most popular for the golfers playing at your club. I have the tan tees set for my entire service. Then, for any golfer on your roster that does not play those specific default tees you set regularly, you could go into your roster and individually set the default tee for that individual to override the default tees of your service. The other thing we're going to talk about under the club settings is the GHP Settings feature. Let's go ahead and click on that. It opens up with the Score Entry tab open, and this controls the look and the feel of the public side when a golfer, member or guest, is navigating through this to post a score or look up a handicap. So we go back to the management. You can see my settings are set to number and lookup for the player lookup. What this means is when a player goes to look themselves up for posting, and I click on that button there, I get these three buttons at the top. They can look themselves up by a local number, if applicable for your club. They can look themselves up by a GHIN number, or they can look themselves up by last name. Right below that you have a number entry type, and I have selected for my test club name lookup, meaning when a golfer goes to post a score or look themselves up handicap wise, it's going to default to the name lookup here. If you wanted to default to a GHIN number, you could go ahead and select GHIN number there, and then it would default appropriately to that. For most clubs, I believe the settings that they have are number and lookup for the player lookup, and name lookup for the number entry type. You can see here we have the score entry method of our club. I have it set to ESC, Equitable Stroke Control. We can do a hole-by-hole score entry for our club. The player setting means that it's going to look at each individual setting for how they enter scores and appropriately give that golfer that method for posting a score. Or we can give the golfer the choice, meaning they can enter it ESC or hole-by-hole, up to them. I also highly recommend these three boxes in the Please Select Score Entry Wizard steps to display be checked. This will prompt the golfer to answer the question of when did you play, what set of tees, and what type of score it was. That's in the highest percentage to ensure the accuracy of the posting. Under the Address Prompting tab at the top, we can go ahead and collect data from our golfers from the date range we select. You can see here, for the month of February 2014, I have this message I'd like to ask the golfers. I type this in as saying, please enter your email so we can send you an updated handicap index on handicap revision days. The first time a golfer goes to the public side and posts a score or looks up a handicap index, during this date range, they are going to get prompted with this message. Because I have this message asking for their email, I want to give them a field to enter their email address in, and I've clicked the appropriate checkbox down here. To put this into action and see it, I'm going to go back to the public side, post a score, try to find a golfer that I have not accessed in a while, because again, it is the first time they come across the program or use the program in the date range. Try Leslie. And you can see the message there of exactly what I typed in before she progresses along to post a score. She can say next. She happens to have an email address in her account, so this is more of a check feature. Is it does it look good to you? Looks like there's an extra space in there, so she could go ahead and fix that. Say next, and then she proceeds along. When did you play? And goes through the posting section. Her answering that question will update her information in her personal roster. So that's a great way, under our GHP settings, under address prompting, to get information from the golfer that is automatically put into each individual's account. I recommend collecting email addresses at least so they have the handicap directly sent to them via email on the 1st and the 15th. Moving across to the Management tab at the top, you can see we have a couple of optional fields. In my test club, I have optional field 1 checked, and I have it as a locker number. Optional field 2 is a cart barn number. So let's go into the golfer club roster again and show you an example of this. When I click on a golfer and bring up their individual information, under the optional fields, you see I have 2 fields that match my settings, locker number and cart barn number. So if this golfer's locker number is 217 and his cart barn number is 8, I can save that, and now I have that data in for this golfer in my program, and I can access it through reports later. It's a good way to keep full information on your golfers within the program, and if I want to go to reports later and draw out a report of all my golfers, and I want to see their email and I want to see their optional fields which I have set, you can draw that data back and use it as a document you can use for various functions at your club, not just related to handicapping. Going back into our GHP settings, we can also see the global settings has a few features here, including a reactivate index. And that means if you have a golfer who's inactive, and the moment you activate him, if you'd like the index to be reissued, you can check this box and click Save. If that's not checked, the golfer, when activated, will still say no handicap until he or she goes through the next handicap revision on the 1st or the 15th. That concludes this segment. If you have any questions on the club settings feature or the GHP Handicap program settings, please feel free to contact the Iowa Golf Association. Thanks for watching.